Hello,
You.
ladies. Woo! That's it. Bringing the energy. Can always rely on you, Claire, to bring the energy. I love it. So hello everybody. Happy New Year. This is the first live of the new year, 2025. I am delighted to be joined with the brilliant Claire Innes, who is the founder of the Fertility Mentor. Claire and I have known each other for many years through this very community, which is what I love, how I love to meet some new brilliant women. Claire is a fertility coach and expert, and she's going to be coming to you every month to chat to you about various different elements around fertility in a woman's life. So we are very much so going to be using the group as a narrative because fertility is a key thing that pops up in the Glasgow Girls Club. And when I see things that are key featuring all the time, I like to bring in an expert from our Glow Club Business Club to chat around the subject and hopefully provide some amazing value for our members as a thank you for being a part of it and to introduce you to an expert from our Glow Club. So, Claire, welcome.
Hello. Hi, thank you very much for having me as well. I absolutely love the GGC, and you're right, that's how we met. I think it was during lockdown, wasn't it? When we were learning Spanish together.
Yes,
Um, but I'm really, really thrilled to kind of have this platform and be able to reach more Glasgow local ladies and talk about fertility.
love it, because we actually did a live many moons ago, didn't we, Claire? And there was a really lovely outcome from a lady from the GGC seeing the live. So hopefully we can have more of that.
Yeah, literally, she saw the video and she messaged me the next day and she said it was as if you were talking to me. I just felt as if you were talking to me. And she's got a wee boy now. Like she's been through treatment, she's been through pregnancy, a successful pregnancy, and she's now a mum. So, it's amazing.
Amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Okay, so let's dive into it then, Claire. Let's find out about
Oh,
you and your business
okay.
firstly, and then we'll get into some questions,
We'll get into the good stuff.
get into the good stuff.
So do you want me to just talk about the business?
Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't know if you were going to ask me questions or something.
I was like, I think something's happened to my laptop again because I've been having tech issues this morning. No, just tell us a wee whistle stop tour about
Okay,
how the fertility mentor came about and what it is that you do.
right, let's go
First
for
live of
it.
2025, there was always going to be something.
Yes. So, yeah, I love talking about the business. So, the Fertility Mentor exists basically to help any woman who's either struggling to fall pregnant or is able to fall pregnant but keeps losing either their pregnancies or their babies. And there's loads of kind of facets in there, but basically that's who I'm looking to help. We have lots of free services. We have a lot more kind of detailed one-to-one coaching. But my overall goal is for women who are knackered, burned out, stressed, a bit overweight, a bit underweight, don't understand their body, to optimize their chances so that they can conceive and carry a healthy baby. And this all happened, it all came about many years ago. I used to work in menopause and I loved it. I absolutely, absolutely loved it. And I had a client who had PCOS. She believed she was menopausal. She just wanted help surviving menopause. This was kind of pre-Davina days.
Hmm.
And she gave up trying, but she fell pregnant naturally. Like she wasn't obviously naturally, she wasn't trying. And that kind of just lit an absolute fire under my arse. I was like, oh my God. And since then, the wheels have just been turning to create the Fertility Mentor. Nearly 3 years the business has been going now. And lots of wee babies created and lots of brilliant success stories.
Yeah, you're so passionate about it because every time I speak to you, you're like, "Oh, babies, babies," all this lovely stuff. But I know that there's a lot of sensitive, really sensitive, and often heartbreaking stuff around fertility as well. So probably
Yeah,
maybe we put a wee trigger warning in here as well, Claire, if
that's a
you
good
think that's
idea.
a good thing to
Yeah,
do. And
that is a good
I'll
idea.
edit the copy too, because
Yeah,
I
so
know it's
I
journey.
probably will bring up things like baby loss, possibly terminations, um, and yeah, this could be a difficult watch. So that's a good idea.
Okay. Okay. So, what are the most common things would you say that your clients need help with then, Claire, when they come to you?
Okay, so BMI reduction and increase is one of the main ones. So very, very often I will work with ladies who have either been told by their doctor, I can't help you, I can't refer you until you meet a certain BMI recommendation. Now, whether I agree with that or not is by the by, but they know that they need to get over this barrier to actually proceed. I also work with women abroad who, well, women all over the world that don't necessarily have this to get over, but they know that it's a trigger. So they might be overweight, so they know that they're dealing with estrogen dominance, and they just know that their chances are going to be optimized by losing weight. And there's a good way to do that, and there's a not so good way to do that when it comes to egg quality, which I'm sure I'll ramble on about later.
Mhm.
Another group is ladies who are looking to increase their BMI. So maybe they've become so underweight or so chronically stressed that they've lost their menstrual cycle. They've lost their menstrual cycle, they cannot fall pregnant. If they're not ovulating, it just won't happen. Otherwise, there's kind of medical situations that I help women with as well. PCOS, endometriosis, chronic conditions such as kind of thyroid issues that a lot of people don't really understand how the thyroid can affect fertility. And overall, sitting alongside this is women who are typically, the media would make you think over 35, but typically women start to panic round about that 40 mark that they start to hear this, oh, this is never going to happen for me voice. And they're stressed about the amount of eggs they've got left, the amount of time they've got left. And I help them optimize everything basically, their nutrition, their eggs, their body, all of their chances, so that they can almost like double down on their chances. A lot of my clients have suffered, they've lost children, they've lost pregnancies. Quite often it's women who have never been pregnant, but I would say it's probably 50-50 women who can conceive no problem, but they can't seem to hold on to a pregnancy. And you're absolutely right, it's very, very, very stressful for them.
Mhm.
And one of the things I say when I explain what I do to people is the great days are the best days ever, like you can imagine.
Yeah.
But even the shittiest days, it's still nice to know that you can be there for them on their shittiest day. And you, because there's still so much stigma, there's so much, there's just so much negativity. And a lot of women just feel that they can't talk about miscarriage with their husband or their mum or their friends, and it's quite fulfilling to know that you are the person that they can come to and say all the things that they don't want to say out loud.
Yeah.
So that it's quite long-winded, Laura, sorry. But
No,
as
I
you know,
know
I'm somewhat passionate.
you're absolutely passionate, and you've also got a Facebook group as well, don't you,
Yes,
Claire,
that's right.
where women can go and get support from each other as well as having that support from you, which is
Yeah,
a nice space to be in because I'm obviously in your group as well.
yeah. So the reason we put a lot of work into the Facebook group, and the reason it's so important to me is it's completely free. Anyone who is female and trying to conceive and not trying to sell anything is welcome there and they're wanted there. And I love the idea that someone could be awake at 3 in the morning and just stressed out their box. You'll remember it, like remember when you're feeding babies as well and you sit and you're like, oh, doom scrolling on mum's net. I think of the Facebook group as the equivalent of that. Someone will see that, someone will reply to you, even if there's just a space at 4 in the morning that you can get something out of your system. And I do a lot of lives there, a lot of Q&As, and I put up a lot of free content there as well.
Yeah, and we've put the link to the group in the comments as well if anyone's watching this and thinking, right now, that's for me. So go in and see what it's all about.
Come on over, baby.
That's it,
Come join the
exactly.
party.
Come join. So you mentioned egg quality. What does that mean and why is it so important?
Okay. So egg quality is something that I batter on about all the time. And that's because there's a misunderstanding typically around kind of older generations, this whole biological clock. I'm not saying that's not accurate, but it's not all about the number of eggs that you have left. We are born with all the eggs we're going to have. That number is only ever going to go down. but nothing at all is going to change the fact you only ovulate once per month. The availability is one. So even if you've got millions of follicles, hundreds of thousands of follicles sitting ready to go, there's only one egg there. So you can't do anything about that number anyway. What you can do is optimize the quality of that egg. And there's so much research that's telling us there's basically offers additional protection from miscarriage, higher chance of actually conceiving, minimizing the chance of chromosomal abnormalities. The thing that you actually are in control of is the most important thing. And I just think that's so
Yeah.
empowering. And the amount of people, I was down in London on the news last year. Even the kind of the newsreaders, they were like, "I didn't know this. I did not know this." And I just think it's so important that people understand that because we've been conditioned. Oh, the biological clock's ticking. Oh,
Yeah.
you better hurry up. That creates stress. The stress itself can fuck with our hormones, and
Yeah.
on and on and on it goes. So I think that yeah, egg quality is the be all and end all, in my opinion, when it comes to fertility.
Yeah, I mean, and what you said there, I didn't know either about, and actually, it's a much more positive way of looking at it than being like, oh, I'm this age, I'm that age, on my biological clock. Because if it is only ever one egg a month, then
Hmm.
yeah, and there's
Yeah,
something that you can do about the quality of your eggs.
yeah.
Eh,
And it's that control piece. When you put that in the context of how stressed out women who are dealing with infertility or baby loss are, that extra layer
yeah,
of, oh, there's nothing I can do about that. There's another month gone, there's another month gone. But they don't understand, and I don't think there's enough education around hang on, yep, the quality of your eggs does tend to decline over time as well, but you can stop that and you can improve that because the women I work with, they need to feel in control. They don't know, they don't have any control over when they're going to go to the hospital, if they're going to go to the hospital, if they're going to get another round. They need control and they deserve control. And that's very much, in my opinion, that's what's so important in the journey.
absolutely. Um, okay, so how can egg quality actually be improved?
Oh, okay. So there's a few things that we can do, like anyone can do, just living their life without a prescription to actually improve their egg quality. So number one, I think we've got 20 minutes into this call before I'm talking about nutrition, but yay, it's
Here it
nutrition.
comes.
Yeah, number one is nutrition. So included within that, we've got like our BMI. Want to make sure we've got enough body fat on us, if possible, not too much body fat. That links into the whole hormone piece that I'll talk about in a minute. Nutrition, we can also with the food that we eat, we can work on our egg quality as well. Make sure that we're getting enough protein for cell creation. Make sure that we're getting enough healthy fats. Now, how often have we heard, oh, fats are the enemy, fats are bad? No, 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 fats, no, 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 no. We do want fats. We just want it to be the right fats to
Mhm.
balance out those hormones and help us to actually ovulate. The next thing that not a lot of people talk about is oxidative stress. So this is when I talk about egg quality typically declining over the years, that's because it's not necessarily that they're shittier eggs. It's that they've been sat for that long, they're not energized. So taking the right supplements at the right time and sitting alongside that is minimizing exposure to harmful chemicals that
Mm.
are frankly just fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
So how many times have you hit up your dinner and a takeaway dish that you've thought, oh, I'll just put that in the dishwasher, or plastic water bottles, or just really understanding the chemicals we're using to wash our hair. It can really, really affect our ability to ovulate, but also the quality of our eggs. And then next, it's hormones. So really, really understanding that menstrual cycle. If you ovulate, when you ovulate, how long your fertile window is, and live in a way that's going to optimize your hormones. And this is so much more easily said than done. But we talk a lot about cortisol and adrenaline, but this can really, really affect our eggs as well. So nobody's going to wave a magic wand and say, "You're not stressed anymore, darling. Go forth." And like that doesn't happen.
No.
Managing stress is a big, big biggie. And then the last thing is looking after your mind. I can't stress this enough. Just showing yourself some grace, being kind to yourself, exercising and surrounding yourself with happiness and joy, because it's absolutely brutal. I'm trying to minimize the swearing because I'm a swearer, but it is hard. It's so hard.
We don't mind a sweary word in the GGC.
Don't mind a cheeky wee sweary word. Okay.
That's it.
So yeah, but that's the things that I would say to anyone who's looking to improve their egg quality. Very often someone will come to me and say, "Oh, I've had my AMH tested. I've got a really, really low AMH. I don't think that this is going to work for me." And I'll say to them, "No, no, let's step back a wee bit. Let's look at your lifestyle. Let's look at what you can do instead of focusing on what isn't going to be possible."
What's AMH?
So AMH stands for anti-Müllerian hormone, and it's one of the first tests that will often be done if a woman is kind of referred, and it's not just here in the UK, it's around the world. One of the first tests that will be done is an indication of fertility as their anti-Müllerian hormone.
Mhm.
And what this does is gives us an indication, only an indication, of how many follicles are in the ovaries. So if I have a client or if I have a lady who comes up to me and says, "Claire, I'm trying naturally and my AMH is at zero point 0.5. I don't think that this is going to be possible." I'll say to them, "No, please stop, because you're only releasing one egg at a time anyway." AMH can be very, very useful in an IVF context,
Okay.
because in IVF, of course, they're stimulating the follicles, aren't they? So AMH can be very useful in an IVF context because it's an indication of how many eggs they might get or how the woman might respond to stimulation medicine.
Mhm.
But when it comes to trying naturally, one of the first things I actually say to people is forget about AMH. Find out if you're ovulating, make sure that that's actually happening. And in that case, you're releasing one a month. Let's look to optimize that one. Does that make sense, or have I went a wee bit fast there?
No, it makes sense. It does make sense because I didn't have a clue. So, okay, so there is actually lots that can be done to improve your egg quality. And like you said, it's about the person feeling like they're in control of that element.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
And can
So
I
if I
just
was
interrupt you here as well, Laura? Just
and
because I think that you reminded me of a really important point. See, just the whole process of going from doom scrolling, doom scrolling at night, this is never going to happen for me. That often leads to like self-hate, can't look in the mirror, chronically stressed, smoking, drinking. I mean, this isn't all of my clients, but I've seen versions of it in most of them.
Hmm?
And people saying to them, "You just need to relax. Once you relax, it'll be fine." But you cannot flip a switch to just relax.
Yeah,
But I promise you, see, from having positive things to stress about, positive goals to act towards, that in itself that can provide a distraction, which means that instead of scrolling at 3 in the morning to, why is this and how much does it cost to go for IVF in Greece,
yeah,
that can become going to bed at 9 o'clock because you're knackered, because you've done a workout and you've ate really well and having a really, really good sleep and waking up rested the next day.
yeah,
I know that it might sound just a bit airy fairy, but these things really, really can happen if we concentrate on ourselves and we give ourselves that grace and focus on health. It can make a huge difference. I know that
yeah.
sounds a wee bit preachy, and I hate sounding preachy,
No,
but I have seen it
I don't think it
happen.
does. I think we're all like so aware of how mindset can have such an effect on your physicality. And I
Yeah.
think that is basically what you're saying in a nutshell is,
It's never more relevant than in a fertility context.
Mhm.
Never more relevant.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's really that in itself is really positive because if you are in a space of, chronic stress, like anger, any of those kind of negative feelings,
Grief.
grief, blaming yourself, if you then are
Mhm.
able to be like, no, do you know what? I can do this, and then let's see what happens. That takes you from the negative into the positive, and your body
Mhm.
responds. It's
I
yeah,
can't have you saying this without doing my wee Pitbull impression. Took my life from negative to positive. I just want y'all to know that.
Well, I mean, there we go. You heard it here first. Pitbull will be
But
on
no,
the
you're
phone
right, you're
soon.
right. And the thing is, doing that one thing makes you feel better the next day. And then if you're clever about it, you just
Yeah.
build on these habits.
And the power of getting a good night's sleep, like
Oh
that
my,
can revolutionize so much in itself. So I can only imagine what it could do to, somebody going through fertility. So, okay, so I've got a
okay.
question for you here. So if a woman is over 40 and has
Hmm.
a low AMH,
Hmm.
does this mean she can't have a baby? And I think I know what you're going to say, but if she's thinking,
Absolutely not.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
So that the AMH on its own doesn't mean that she can't have a baby. There may be other things, like obviously you see these ads on Facebook, you can do this, you definitely can do this. And I'm kind of, but the AMH alone is not the reason that she would not be able to have a baby. If
okay,
she is ovulating, if she has AMH, if she has eggs left, she's only releasing one a month. It might be, so it's probably an indication that she won't respond well to IVF medicine and she probably won't get a lot of embryos.
okay,
But trying naturally, I would recommend is the way to go for that woman.
interesting.
I've
Because
got one client who's pregnant right now, she's 43.
Okay, because it's so interesting that you say that because I think from somebody who's not got any knowledge on the situation would potentially assume that if they weren't able to get pregnant, the IVF would be the course of action. But what you're saying is actually for some ladies, it's not the course of action, and it's actually sorting maybe or working on something else to potentially fall pregnant naturally.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
anything that she can do to fall pregnant naturally can only help when it comes to IVF. Because working on there's studies out there. There's a really good one by Alice Domer that, and it was a group of women on their second round of IVF. They went through, they basically did a test group of people who didn't do any interventions, and then a group of women who done like what's called a mind body program. So this was without the nutrition, but
Mhm.
even then, there was a 50% uptake in the women who worked on, the kind of holistic side of things
Mhm.
for IVF. But to answer your actual question, AMH is specifically an indicator for how well you're likely to respond to IVF, and looking after your egg quality has been shown to double outcomes.
Okay, that's a really positive.
It ain't over till it's
Yeah,
over.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we were saying that for every live that you will bring into the group, there will be potentially a slight focus, and you are in the group having a look at what women are asking for specifically in relation to fertility. And PCOS is something that we've seen a bit of chat on in the
Yeah,
group, particularly
yeah.
around creating a support group, a support.
Yeah, well done to Anna who created it. It's a brilliant wee support group. It's brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, we've had a lot of questions specific to PCOS in the GGC, but also in this support group as well.
Okay. Okay. So that seems like a good topic to focus on this month. So
Mhm.
I've got a wee list of questions for you, if that's okay,
Okay.
Claire. Okay,
Yeah.
so what are the different types of PCOS and how would somebody recognize what type they might have?
That's a brilliant one. So PCOS, most women with PCOS, I think it's 70% are going to have insulin resistant. Insulin resistant PCOS, yeah, the 70% of cases is insulin resistant. Then there's three other types. One of them is post pill. So that's when you come off the pill and it takes your body a while to regulate. That's not really a long-term issue. That tends to just sort itself out. And you'll recognize post-pill PCOS because you've just came off the pill.
Mhm.
Insulin resistant PCOS is normally, you would recognize that when you're carrying quite a bit of weight around about the tummy and the hips. And with insulin resistance, it can be particularly difficult to lose weight, and you can get like cravings. So almost like that kind of pre-type 2 type of symptoms, that tends to sit next to insulin-resistant PCOS. And then the kind of other two that are much less common, but they're very much still out there, is adrenal and inflammatory. So adrenal is normally is triggered by our stress hormones, cortisol. You can see how many things are overlapping in like the world of fertility. And this is the case as well, by the way, whether you're trying to conceive or not, if you've got PCOS, you will probably fall into one of these four categories. So adrenal, you would normally look to manage your stress levels, look to kind of balance your hormones out. And inflammation, you're looking to move around a lot more. Normally, there would be I often see some food intolerance with inflammatory PCOS as well.
Okay.
As I say, the vast majority is going to be insulin resistant, and you would know that that's you if you have difficulty losing weight and if it tends to hang about like round about that kind of belly area.
And obviously, if you think that you might have PCOS, your doctor would be able to tell you, would they be able to tell you exactly what type you've got?
In the
Sometimes.
UK, probably not. Like I don't think they would. The NHS is in the NHS is where it is. They probably wouldn't. It's quite difficult to get tested for PCOS just now, and a lot of the time the diagnosis is based on your symptoms. But
Okay.
there's a really good page I can share. There's a really good link I can share. I'll put it in the comments that can
Brilliant.
help you understand kind of what type you have, because the way that you would treat it, and I say treat it like not as in the doctor treating it, I mean like
Yeah,
the way you would manage your lifestyle to treat it is different, kind of depending on what type.
that would be really interesting if you could put that in the chat. I think that would be really because I'd be really
There's
keen to.
obviously a lot of overlap, but you can imagine like so with insulin resistance, you're looking to manage your carbs, you're looking to manage, it's really lifestyle based. With adrenal, you're obviously stress.
Mm,
With inflammation, you look to minimize the inflammation. So absolutely, I'll
yeah,
definitely share that.
thank you. That sounds good. Okay, so you've kind of touched on it there when you're talking about the four types, but what lifestyle changes can help with managing, I suppose, each of the four types, or, I'm sure there will be overlap, but what type of
Mhm.
lifestyle changes
Yeah.
can be kind of looked at?
So when I have clients with insulin resistant PCOS, and that was the case with Danielle, who I talked about earlier, who was the kind of inspo for this business,
Mm.
um, insulin resistance, insulin resistant PCOS, put your teeth in. You would treat that you would look to manage your nutrition almost as if you were approaching type 2 diabetes.
Mm.
So you want to make sure you're getting loads of fiber, loads of veg, but the biggest game changer in my experience is understanding carbohydrate spikes. We want to minimize those carbohydrate spikes so that we're minimizing the body's inability to deal with the insulin or release insulin. And I get my client to do that by whenever they're having carbs, they have it in a meal. So I promise you, I have never ever told a client to eliminate carbs. It's
Mhm.
not something that I'm a fan of. I'll support clients who have been told by a doctor to do it, but I'm not a fan. So if you're having your breakfast and say you're having overnight oats, those oats are going to cause something like this. So I will say to them, okay, I need you to have a form of protein and some healthy fats at the same time because they are going to do this while this is happening with your insulin, and the overall is this. And
Mm.
that's going to absolutely mimic your hunger levels as well.
Hmm.
So if you think about if you have like a slice of toast, you're starving like an hour later, aren't you?
Yep.
But if you have eggs, you're not starving an hour later. So we're looking to combine these things, have the carbs for the energy, but have the protein to minimize the spike and keep you fuller for longer and really, really level out those blood sugars. The next thing you can do is regular exercise and movement. So I'm not necessarily talking about doing a Leanne Kelly and joining up, signing up for a boxing match. I'm talking about getting off your arse, walking, moving your body as much as possible. If you're able to have a regular exercise routine, I would much prefer stuff little and often, but regular and sustainable
Mhm.
than knocking yourself out trying to do too much.
Yep.
Definitely, definitely optimizing sleep and minimizing stress. The last thing I would say to do is to trial for possible intolerances. Now, there's obviously tests that you can do where you send off blood and it'll come back and tell you. But the easiest way I find to do it is to basically cut out all dairy and all, no, I do one at a time. So for PCOS, and this is totally just based on my experience, I find that insulin resistant PCOS women tend to lean more towards a dairy intolerance, and
Okay.
inflammatory based PCOS tends to lean more towards a gluten intolerance. Now,
Okay.
I'm not saying if you have that, you will have this by any
Mhm.
means. I ask my clients just to test it. So, first thing I would say is eliminate dairy for 2 weeks. Keep a diary, see if you're bloating less, see if you're having, if your menstrual pain is any less difficult, see if maybe if your hirsute, see if that's easing up any, and then gradually ease it back in. And if you notice that it starts to get worse, then that's an indication that there might be an intolerance. Similarly, if you do that and you don't notice any difference either way, give yourself a wee bit of grace, have a month of just eating normally, and then trial eliminating gluten and do it the exact same way. 2 weeks of none of it. Keep a diary, measure your waist, take pictures of yourself, track your energy levels, and then introduce it back in slowly and see what happens to your symptoms. We don't need to spend a fortune on these expensive tests. We can listen to our bodies and understand a lot about what it's trying to tell us.
Okay. Okay. Right, brilliant. So there's lots of takeaways then for anybody watching this then thinking, right, okay,
Yeah.
what things I can do right
And I
now?
would also say though, like, see if you don't have an intolerance, the reason I'm so careful about saying test for it is I would hate to say to a woman that doesn't need to take dairy out of her diary to eliminate it, because it's one of the best sources of protein, one of the cheapest and the most easily available and natural sources of protein. So please don't, and I know that very often, especially in January, it's like, right, I'm cutting this out, I'm cutting this out, this is it, I'm just going to drink lemon water for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
Don't feel you need to go into it with the attitude of, I'm going to test this, because you could actually end up doing more harm than good by taking it out if it's not doing you any disservice.
okay. So that's good, yeah.
Maybe thing.
Like,
Speaking of, I'm just going to get my water bottle, Laura, 2 minutes.
oh, go for it, go for it.
Cheers!
Cheers, cheers. Okay, so you mentioned earlier on, Claire, about supplements in relation to equality. So it would
Hmm.
be great to hear a wee bit more about what supplements you would recommend, I suppose, in relation to that, but also in relation to somebody with PCOS, or if they would be
Yeah.
different, or
Some of them would be the same and some of them would be different. So, normal disclosure here, I am not a doctor. If you're starting anything else, and especially with the supplement market isn't regulated,
Mhm.
just be careful what you're buying and speak to your healthcare providers. I'll keep this like quite broad.
Mhm.
So for most of my clients, like the vast majority of clients, for their health, I ask them to take omegas. Most
Mhm.
of us aren't getting enough. Most of us aren't sitting down and eating salmon twice a week. Vitamin D. We're Glasgow girls. We have 3 months of darkness. Magnesium at night to help with rest,
Mhm.
and a multivitamin. So they're the kind of bog standard. They're, for most women, they're going to help with health.
Mhm.
If you have PCOS, whether you are trying to conceive or not, you may want to consider inositol, which is a really good supplement. It's been tested a lot for helping with ovulation and minimizing the symptoms of PCOS. So that's inositol. And it's becoming quite mainstream. Like you can get it on My Protein and whatnot now. So it's not particularly out there. It's not particularly hard to find. And then in a fertility context, one of my favorite supplements to take is CoQ10. It's called coenzyme Q10. And what that does is energizes the mitochondria in the eggs. So
Mm.
one of the big beliefs in fertility research is that, remember I talked earlier about all these follicles sitting in the ovaries?
Mhm.
Everybody thought as they get older, they get shittier, they get worse. But there's so much studies now that's telling us it's not necessarily that they get worse. It's just that they're in like they're sitting there and suspended in time, and it's that they lack the energy to grow and do all the chromosomal sorting.
Mhm.
So CoQ10 really gets into the mitochondria, the ATP, and energy. Like, think of these eggs sitting in the ovaries, like, yes, I'm ready to go. So that is a very, very good one. Really well studied as well, and relatively safe. Again, of course, check with your doctor, but CoQ10, particularly the ubiquinol brands, I am a fan of in a fertility context.
Ubiquinol. Did you say
Ubiquinol.
ubiquinol? Okay. Okay, that's so interesting to hear that there's something that can actually energize your eggs.
Oh, I've lost you, my darling. Oh, you're back. Yeah,
Sorry, I think it was my internet there. It's just so interesting to know that you can get something that helps to energize your eggs.
it is. It is.
Yeah,
And like, honest to goodness, I'll dig out some of the studies. I'm not going to forget. I'm going to do this. I'll put some of the studies in the comments because it is absolutely wild the
that
difference it
would
can
be
make.
brilliant. Can I ask, Claire, I'm assuming, are these things quite expensive?
They can be.
Okay,
So fertility supplements, you can go to Zita West is one of the best known ones. She's an author. She's a really well known doctor and researcher in the kind of fertility field. Her supplements can run into the hundreds of pounds, and like that's on a monthly basis. But that's why I typically don't recommend brands at all. I
okay.
recommend ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's, and especially because I work with women all over the world at the moment. I've got two in America and one in Australia. It's not available to everyone. So ubiquinol is an ingredient. It comes in many different brands. You can get good quality ubiquinol starting at I think about 20, £30 a month.
Okay,
And then your multivitamins, your omegas, they're all quite standard.
okay,
Inositol isn't very expensive either.
okay,
But to
okay,
answer
doc.
your question, yes, they can be if you want to do that, but they don't have to be.
Yeah, and I suppose that's like lots of things in life, isn't there? There's like a ladder of
Yeah,
pricing.
and don't forget as well, there's absolute horse shit out there as well. So like
Yeah.
you can go into the pound shop and there can be that there's no regulation in this industry. Or also look out for where it says proprietary blend on supplements. So
Mm,
they can write that the manufacturers can say this is our proprietary blend of X, Y, and Z. And it might be that the X is a very expensive ingredient, the Y and Z is really, really cheap. They say proprietary because they don't need to disclose how much of each is in it.
rubbish, isn't it?
So
Like, how is that
yeah,
even? Yeah,
no
how's that even
regulation.
allowed? This mental. But I guess this is another reason why great to go into your Facebook group because conversations around that type of thing, like just getting some shared
Yeah.
experience, that I think that would be
It
really
is,
useful for women.
it's not about me, but I do get a wee bit uncomfortable recommending brands
Hmm.
because I've seen other people do it and I've seen them kind of profiting off it, and that's not where I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
So I don't like to talk about brands, but what I say to my kind of paying clients is you have a look at what's available, send them to me, and I'll tell you what I think my favourite is, what I think's the
Oh, that's
best.
good. That's brilliant. Okay, right. So, proactive ways then for managing symptoms such as hirsutism. Have I said that,
Hirsutism,
have I
yep.
said that right? Um,
Uh-huh.
tell us about what that is, because I've seen that
Uh-huh.
pop up in the group and how people can proactively manage it.
I don't even know why the word like hirsute exists. It means hairy. So if we have
Ah,
hirsutism, and it's very, very, very common with PCOS, extra hair round about the face or particularly thick body hair.
yeah,
And that comes about because PCOS, I think it's all versions of PCOS, they're liable to have higher androgen levels. Androgen means male hormone. The one that most people will have heard of is testosterone, but it's not always testosterone that they're dominant in. But the higher androgen levels can mean that we can be just a wee bit more hairy than we would like to.
yeah,
So the way that I always suggest managing this is minimizing androgens. So if the androgens are what's causing it, how can we bring them down? And one of the best ways to do that is through exercise. So if we're looking to lower androgens, lower testosterone, there's been a lot of studies that are showing cardio exercise can lower testosterone levels in women with PCOS. Now, a word of warning here, and this is particularly if you have PCOS and you're trying to conceive. I'm not a massive fan of HIIT workouts, so I'm not massive on any workout where you go bang, 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 rest, bang, 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 rest. And that's because that can increase your cortisol levels. So it's almost like fixing one thing and damaging another. I prefer my PCOS girls to get their cardio in a bit of a more chilled way. So walking up a hill just at a constant, like elevated rate. I
Mhm.
would prefer that than this on off type of exercise. And then the other thing I get most of my clients doing is resistance training. So anything they can do to build muscle. The more
Mhm.
muscle we have on us, the higher the calorie burn at rest. Just getting, yeah, that body nice and strong and nice and healthy. But specific to hirsutism, look at ways that you can minimize your androgen levels, and that should help. And of course, I can't not talk about practicing a wee bit of self-love. That's what makes you who you are. So love yourself exactly as you are. And if you want to laser it, if you want to shave it, I mean, I don't have PCOS, but I'm dark, so I tend to get a bit of a tash, and you get these brilliant just DV razors, like the kind of home, is it microblading?
Yeah,
Dermaplaning. They're really, really
dermaplaning.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got like I am a really, really hairy woman. Like I think if I didn't, so I get lasered, um, because I've always had really dark hairs, like just everywhere.
Mhm.
And I think if I left my face and I didn't get it lasered, I think I would honestly have a full beard. Like it's
We're a
really
pair of hairy Marys, isn't we?
I know, but I do. I have got big shout out to laser hair removal too because it really has helped me and helped my confidence as well. Because when you don't feel as though you're just constantly like I if you ever see me sitting doing this, I'm like literally playing with my beard.
Ah,
So like I know that I need to go.
chin.
Yeah, I know that I need to go and get it done again, but yeah, there's no shame in it, and I know that when I go and get myself lasered, like the ladies that I go to, they're like, "We've seen everything, like just get it out and let's just get it off." And yeah, it's yeah, good to take a bit of time for self-care.
PCOS as well, like it's not just the hirsutism. So a lot of women with PCOS, they've got really quite unpleasant menstrual cycle. Most women find it very difficult to lose weight. So there's
Hmm.
a lot of that whole kind of self-love, confidence that tends to go alongside PCOS.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay, but you've recommended some great things here. So okay, so is there any new research or treatments we should be aware of? Um, and why do you think this area of like a woman's life and health is so underfunded? Oh, let's
Love
get to the
this.
nitty-gritty.
Yes, love it, love it, love it. So love it. From a fertility perspective, fertility PCOS perspective, there's really good treatments out there to help you ovulate, and that they're on prescription only. So I should have actually backtracked and talked about this. A common side effect of PCOS is that your body either doesn't ovulate or that it ovulates really erratically,
Mhm.
and that can affect fertility because you need your cycle balanced. So for women who have PCOS and aren't ovulating because of PCOS, there's some really good, really, really well researched medicines that are available. And they would be on prescription from your doctor. So obviously they would need to decide if you can have it or not. Then there's the kind of useful supplements such as inositol. Again, speak to your GP about that. But yeah, it is such an underfunded area. And I say that talking about not just PCOS, but
Mhm.
women's issues, lady problems.
Yeah.
Medicine is historically a male industry. Now I know and I love many super intelligent women who work for the NHS who are medical, but I'm going to be really, really blunt here, and I'm not coming for anyone personally.
Hmm.
Historically, women, and I'm talking about hundreds of years back, women are historically less likely to talk about medical issues or things that would be like ladies' issues. Things are definitely getting better.
Hmm.
I talked about the Davina documentary. I think since then she has literally just lit a fire under so many people's asses.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about menopause now. But 10 years before that, oh, she's going through the oh, ladies' problems. Historically, medicine has been male dominated, and a lot of things were brushed off, or a lot of things were just kind of written off. Oh, she's just this, she's just that.
Yep.
Women get, worried that they're going to be labeled as barren. I mean, that's just horrible. But the fact remains, though, PCOS, infertility, endometriosis, they have been brushed off and minimized for decades, if not longer. We are now in a time where we live in Scotland, but all around the world, it's not as if there's loads of money sitting spare, like this big pot in the NHS of, oh, we've just got so much
Yeah.
funding available. How do we expand that? If all the time they're kind of pulling it in. So
Yeah.
this is an area that never historically wasn't thought of as very important, and that we're now fighting, and it's getting better. It is getting so much better. But yeah, and I'm just to be really, really clear, I'm not saying that all men don't care about it. I mean, historically, hundreds, 100, 200 years ago, the men were mostly doctors. They were all doctors, and it
Yeah.
wasn't as understood as it is now. And we're fighting against all of that history to to get the funding, to get the studies.
And I think we all do know, like as women, we know that, don't we? We know that there's always been underrepresentation and kind of
Hmm.
everything, really, isn't it? I suppose when it comes to so the changes that are coming afoot now, having experts like yourself who are focusing on an area of a woman's health that is going to really, really support her is quite new age, really, isn't it? And actually, can
Yeah.
you imagine like the generations to come, how much better it's going to be for them when you've got people like yourself who are like, no, here's the education, here's what you need to know, here's how you're in
Hmm.
control of your health. I think it's
Hmm.
amazing.
Yeah, and when like I can't wait for the day when kind of this sort of education is available just in schools, when girls and boys are educated at the same time on their bodies, on their health, because that's what this is, it's their health. And
Yeah,
it's just a conversation we have, like saying, I'm a Pisces, I've got endometriosis.
yeah,
We go. And
absolutely.
shorter term, my big dream is that fertility is talked about in the way that menopause is now, because I was in the menopause industry at the time, and I saw that shift from both sides. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. Everybody's talking about this now. And I would love that to happen for fertility.
Yes, well, with people like yourself at the forefront of it, I have no doubt that it will become that. And I think if we can all drive it forward and help with the GGC as well to get the conversation going and flourishing, then hopefully it's going to be a real help for people. I learned so much from you when I listened to you speak. That even in this conversation, we've had many conversations around this topic, but every time I
You
speak to you, I
can't
feel
shut us
so.
up, can you?
I know, but it's so, and I really hope that anybody watching this, because there's been lots of takeaways, so I hope that there's some things that are really positive action points right away. And what I've done is I've shared Claire's website underneath and our Facebook group. So I would really, really urge you definitely to get involved in that Facebook group and to reach out to Claire as well, because you're so active in the group as well. And see
Mhm.
before, and I know because I've had you now for about an hour, so I want to, and I know you're going to be on next month as well. But before we go, can I just ask you about being on the news? Because you've been on the news a couple of times and it's just such a big win. So I'd love you just to tell us a wee bit about that before we sign off.
So the first time was in March, and I got to meet Peter Andre, mysterious girl. And so the first time I was down talking about egg quality versus quantity. And it was at that point, so it was Pete and Ellie, and they were the same. They were like, I didn't know this. I did not know this. So that was really, really exciting. Then the second time I actually approached them when, do you remember when the documentary The Man with 1,000 Kids came out?
Yes.
So that was like really topical at the time, and I wanted to kind of hold a space not for the, oh my God, what's this guy all about, but for the women and the children,
Hmm.
and just really encourage people to think about them. And I wanted to find a platform to encourage women who, A, if possible, don't use private donors, do not use private donors, and B, if you're going to do it, make sure you're safe, make sure there's no natural trying. See the amount of shysters out there that are messaging women saying, oh, I can give you a natural donation. So pervert,
Yeah, and I've
you
heard a
know?
lot about that happening on Facebook. Like Facebook. Yeah, I've heard a lot.
Facebook groups are
Yeah,
rife for it. And then
yeah.
the last time they actually just came back to me, and this was, what was this story? This was a story that I thought was amazing, but the newsreaders didn't. So it was quite a right-wing channel, but it was talking about how the number of women using IVF had, no, the number of single women with successful IVF had, I can't remember if it was doubled or tripled in the last 10 years. And I thought this was like the best news ever. I was like, yay, like independence and
Yeah.
taking control of your fertility. The newsreaders didn't think so quite so much. They thought it was more like kind of stepping back and it should be a man and a woman. So there was a wee bit of this going on, but it was all good fun.
Yeah, okay. So, well, massive win, and you're now getting headhunted to go and speak as an expert. So that's brilliant.
Oh, oh,
Brilliant,
thank you
brilliant.
very much. It's been great fun. I was really nervous the first time and then the second and third time. So it's just like, great.
You're like,
Get
I'm
me a
a
bit of
TV, I'm a
face on,
TV.
start the weekend.
No, it's brilliant. It's been great to watch your journey, and I know that you help so many women. So yes,
Oh.
kudos to you. And next month then, Claire, do you have a note of what the topic will be, or are you going to kind of be looking in the group to see what members are chatting about?
Over to you ladies. So, and we've talked about a lot of areas. With some options might be endometriosis, it might be BMI reduction. Literally, please, ladies, keep being so active, particularly the Sunday posts. I love jumping in on a Sunday and seeing what people are asking about. But as the kind of resident fertility expert, I'm really keen to see what they want, see what they need. And
Yeah,
if I don't know the answer, I'll say that. And
yeah,
I might be able to find someone who does know the answer. But if I do know the answer, then we'll focus. So please keep the questions coming. Please keep supporting each other. And last thing I'm going to say, just because I'm conscious that it's 2 o'clock now, everyone, every single woman in the GGC is entitled to a free consultation with me. So if you're trying to conceive, there's literally no credit card link. It's 45 minutes, you and I going through your journey, and I'll tell you what I suggest you do. And that's it, basically. So do not feel that you're wasting my time by doing that. I want to make this available to our local girls. So if you're interested, DM me or go on the website. Can I get rid of me? Can I swing a dead cat without hitting Claire Innes?
yeah. Quite the saying. Okay, that's brilliant, and that's such a great opportunity for anybody who's watching and thinking, right, okay, I'd like to take this to the next level. So a 45-minute free
Mhm.
consultation. Thank
Yeah,
you, Claire. That
hope
was
so.
a really insightful chat, and hopefully really
Always
useful.
love chatting to you. And there was a lot less nonsense than our normal conversations. We managed to keep serious for almost a full hour, Laura, and it was still
Yes.
fun.
Well, do you know what? I actually love chatting to you and hearing your expertise. And I think if I wasn't so cream crackered after coming back from holiday yesterday, I would probably have thrown in a wee bit of nonsense for you, Claire. Maybe the next one. Maybe the next
Yeah, the
one.
next one, you can do the Pitbull impressions, okay? Right, my darling, I'll
Oh,
see you later.
see
Thank
you
you,
later.
GGC.
Thank you to
Bye.
everybody for watching, and we will be Claire will be back next month.
See you later, alligator.
See you later.